J. Cincinnati on YouTube. When you make a Berliner Weisse with this yeast, I'm talking, I believe we're talking about Philly sour. Would you do anything to a typical Berliner Weisse recipe to favor this yeast? I have a package of Philly sour, and Berliner was the first thing that came to mind, but I am not sure if anything needs to be done to get an appropriate outcome. Wish I could get your beer in Atlanta, or Hotlanta, as I like to call it. Cheers to you, Jay. Yeah, here's the deal, man. You know, I think Philly Sour does a really nice job. I think that it makes a tart, a lightly tart beer. It's pretty clean. It's a nice little thing. I think it's a great yeast for making fruited tart beers. That's great. I think it's a great way to not have to fill up your kettle with, a kettle sour, or be worrying about some of like lactobacillus in the brew house. But you will not create the volume of acid that you want for Berliner Weisse, or at least I would say, in my mind, stylistically, what you would expect from Berliner Weisse with Philly sour. There are some things that you can do with Philly sour to maximize its capacity for creating acid. And one of those is utilizing probably up to 10% of dextrose in your grist, because that will help make, it's the yeast converting simple sugar into acids, okay, at the beginning of that process. Because unless I'm incorrect, Philly sour is making acid up front and then transitions to converting sugar to alcohol, okay? You move into the alcoholic portion of the fermentation. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely make sure that you're using about 10% dextrose in a beer like that. I would also dig into their content online and really make sure you're looking at their recommended fermentation temperatures for maximizing acid, and they're recommending pitching rates. Off the top of my head, I feel as if pitching more of that yeast may help you generate more acid. Please fact check me on that, but it's going to be right on the packaging, or a little bit of searching through Lallemand or something like that. So get on your grind a little bit there and check that stuff out. There is also the option of, and some people might boo and hiss me on this, but if you're looking to make kind of a mock Berliner Weisse out of a beer like this, because you are using a non-traditional yeast in order to do that, I would look at dropping the pH, the starting pH of your wort, maybe down to 4.5, 4.6 with lactic acid, going into the fermenter. For a couple reasons, because it's going to help with the stability of the beer, potentially with some of the foam stability, but I might be talking out of the side of my mouth on that. But it will help to make that wort a little bit more stable, from a microbiological standpoint, until you start getting your real acid drop and your real fermentation starting with the Philly sour. I would not be afraid to taste that beer post and get a sample and dose with a little bit more lactic acid. Okay, now I'm not saying take a 4% wheat beer and pour lactic acid in it and you made this great Berliner Weisse. I'm not saying that. What I think is, I think that you can nudge it along if that process has happened somewhat naturally, right? I think you can emphasize it in the same way that I would say when I make fruit beers, I use a lot of real fruit and then I accent it with some extract to help lift the nose, right? To help magnify. I would look at this the exact same way. You still want the real acid production created by yeast, but you can use some additional lactic to potentially drop that a little bit more if you feel like that might be beneficial. That would be my suggestion on it. Good question. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're going to maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.